Joining me once again is one of the top pound for pound fighters in all of New England. And of course, it is the Ryan Sanders. Ryan, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing great, man. How you been?
Good, good. It's really good to see you. It's been very far too long since we've seen you compete inside the cage. We're actually coming up on 2 years this November when you last fought down in Portland and beat Jacob Bond there. Obviously, you have a beautiful new addition to the family and your beautiful daughter, Ella. Tell me, what has life been like?
It's been amazing, man. Like having a baby, it absolutely changes everything. You know, your outlook in life, and you don't realize how incomplete your life was before. But she is just a bundle of joy. She's 7.5 months old, and she's full of energy. She's always learning. She's very inquisitive, and she's just a happy-go-lucky baby. She's starting to, she's closely almost crawling. So she's going to be a freak of nature, for sure. She's going to probably be a D1 sport athlete. Or if she wants to be a scientist too, that's cool. But she's the greatest thing ever.
Yeah, I told you before we went live, my girlfriend Katie said that you have the most beautiful baby she's ever seen. It looks like the Gerber baby. Do you have other people that tell you the same thing?
Yeah, a couple of my relatives have told me, I think they're being nice, but if someone else is saying it, then it has to be true. I'm a bit biased, so I think she's the gorgeous thing ever. Obviously, look at my wife. Obviously, she's going to be beautiful. So, yeah, she is. She really is. She's gorgeous.
Tell me, what's been the biggest, thing you've had to change with your day-to-day life now being a father?
The fact that Ella comes first. Before a baby, you can be pretty selfish, and you can just be like, all right, I want to get up and do this, or go to this place and stuff. And obviously, it's a little bit more challenging when you want to go and do something because you have to make sure that she's ready. You have to feed her first, change her first, and everything like that. It was funny. Our first doctor's appointment, we were about 15 minutes late because you weren't accustomed to it. Trying to get her ready, put her in the car seat and stuff. But now, it's a little bit, it's a lot more smoother now. But adjusting to having a baby is quite life changing for sure. But like I said, it's absolutely worth it.
Now, have you had to, I mean, I'm not a parent yet myself, but I got to imagine it must be difficult or at least scary with this pandemic going on, especially, they say babies and elderly people are most at risk. Do you feel a little bit more extra cautious whenever you go out in the community just to make sure, like, you don't want to bring anything back?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Like if we go out to a grocery store, we either leave Ella in the car and I'll stay in the car with her, and then Vanessa will run in, or vice versa. But we don't bring her out in public. Which is kind of a catch-22 because at the same time, if it wasn't a pandemic going on, we would have her at daycare, so she would be able to build up her immunity. So that's kind of like the thing that sucks is that now we're sheltering at home and stuff like that, so she's not getting to play with other kids and get those germs that will make her immune system strong. At the same time, we don't want to risk her getting sick at all. So, like I said, we keep her at home or in the car if we have to go out, and one of us stays in the car with her.
I follow you on Twitter, obviously at the Ryan Sanders MMA or the Sanders MMA. Is that right? The Sanders MMA. Okay, I'll make sure I get that right. But you're a great follow. You're clearly into politics quite a bit. I don't want to go too far down that rabbit hole, but just tell me, what do you think is going to happen here in the next few months as far as our economy and everything opening back up? What does your gut tell you that we're going to see have happen?
Without getting into deep with politics, the history always repeats itself. And in 1918, the Spanish flu, the second wave was the worst one. It killed 100 million people. And that's the thing is, a lot of people, especially Americans, we're in this, we have a problem of, thinking that we're safe because, we're Americans and we're tough and stuff like that. But we're also naive, too, because we think that we can't catch this. Any person is susceptible to getting this coronavirus, and it is a very serious thing. And I just feel like, as we loosen the restrictions and stuff like that, and the second wave comes, that's what's really going to hit us hard. So just be careful. Even though, the government is opening up and the economy is coming back, just be careful. And my personal recommendation is if you're out and about, wear a mask. Like there's been studies showing that just wearing a mask yourself, you can reduce the spread by 75%. Just be cautious still, even though things seem to be, getting better. Just be cautious. That's all I can really say.
Mm-hmm. Now, obviously, we're both a couple of big football fans. Do you feel like this is going to maybe prevent us from watching one of our favorite sports come fall time?
It's going to be. I don't know how the NFL could play a game without having fans. It just seems like I think NBA could do it, and obviously the Major League Baseball. But I feel like in NFL, you really thrive off the energy of the fans and stuff like that. And if they do it, I heard their talks about doing it 25%, filling the capacity of the stadium at 25%. But still, just how quickly this spreads. They're saying that it's more contagious than the average flu, and quickly it spreads and stuff like that. So it's going to be very unique to see what they do, what their plans are. I've read that the NBA is looking to hold their season starting back in July at Walt Disney, and I think it's going to be with no fans or anything like that. But I think anyone would be happy just to have sports on TV again, even if we can't watch it in person. I know I'm not an avid golfer or a golf fan, but yesterday watching the competition between 4 of the greatest athletes, it was awesome. And just watching them, joke around, dicker back and forth and stuff like that, it was really cool to watch. And like I was telling you before we got on air, I was actually thoroughly surprised by Tom Brady's performance because a lot of people had written him off, but he did really well. It was awesome to watch.
Yeah, well, hey, I'm surprised to hear you say something nice about Tom Brady. That's good. I'll take it.
Well, now the Bucs guy, I'm a huge fan.
Yeah, it's funny, Ryan. You clearly have a lot of fans all over the New England area. You're one of the most exciting fighters to watch step inside of the cage. I made a post on our Between Rounds Radio Facebook page asking people, what questions they have for you. You've been out for a while now. As I said earlier, almost 2 years come the end or middle of November here. What do you think were the number one or number two questions that people were asking about you? What comes to mind?
Probably if I'm still doing my bicep workout, I assume most of my fans want to make sure. No, I'm just kidding. Just probably want to know what I've been up to and why I just all of a sudden just stopped fighting. I would assume because I was in the prime. I felt like I was in my prime, and I was putting them up and putting them down. I was on 1/8 of 9 and stuff like that. So I assume they're probably just like, what the hell happened to him? But I'm still here. It's just the fight game just kind of it burnt me out, the politics, the small town politics of fighting for a regional promotion, and unfortunately, fighting in New England, you don't get, especially northern New England, you don't get the recognition and stuff like that. So it's really hard. And like I was telling people, at the point of my career, it wasn't what I knew or stuff like that. It was who I knew. I needed somebody to vouch for me and say, hey, give this guy a shot. But it just never came through.
Mm-hmm. Well, both myself and John Parker wanted to know that. That was what John asked. What's been going on? Why you been away? Most everyone else wanted to ride you about the Cowboys and wonder how you think they're going to be this year versus the Patriots. If they're going to have a better win-loss record, and they wanted to get your thoughts. Fred Lee, one in particular, but he's a Redskins fan, so
yeah. Well, the thing is that we had the best offense. Statistically, we had the best offense, and we had the worst head coach. Yeah, Jason Garrett, I'm talking about you. Worst head coach. You want to see Jason Garrett during a game? We could be down 28 points. This is Jason Garrett. We had all the talent and horrible coaching. And I think now that we have everything solidified, we acted really well. I think I got B+ grade for the draft. We re-signed some guys. We have the offense. Our defense is coming along as well. We have a very weak division. Not as weak as the AFC East has always been. That's why the Patriots are good. And but we had a very weak division and stuff. So I think we can really shock the world and at least make the playoffs. Maybe win a playoff game. Every year I tell people and I joke around and stuff like that. We're Super Bowl bound. I don't know if we're there yet, but I think we can be in contention for sure. But obviously the Niners are still stacked. The Packers, I don't think are going to be doing as well because they got that quarterback drama. They drafted a quarterback, and Aaron Rodgers still thinks he has it. In his defense, he didn't have any receivers. So we'll see. The NFC is kind of open right now, and if there is a season, I feel like the Cowboys can easily make the playoffs and maybe make a run for it. But I'm a huge Bucs fan now, so.
What do you think the Cowboys' record's going to be this year? What do you think the Bucs' record's going to be? And tell me what you think the Pats' record will be.
I think the Cowboys can go 11-5. I feel pretty optimistic about that. The Bucs, man, the Bucs have gone out and made a lot of trades. Obviously, they brought in Gronk, but they shored up their offensive line. They had decent receivers, and they have a running game. I don't know a lot about their defense. I think their defense is young, but also they have the Panthers and the Saints in their division. The Panthers are, not bad. The Saints have always been formidable, but the Patriots, man, it's a rebuilding year. I think it's going to be hard for you guys to see it because what you guys been accustomed to. But just know that the Cowboys been in rebuilding process for 30 years. So, and I'm doing pretty good. So.
Well, either way, hopefully we just see football come the season. Hopefully it starts up and we actually get to see the games. That's all I really care about. Me as a Patriots fan, I've been spoiled for the last 20 years anyways. So as long as I get to see the games, I'll be happy. Another fellow that I think you know a little bit made a comment on that post. They wanted me to ask you, who's the most handsome British kickboxer that you know?
Oh, hands down, it's Matt Probyn. I think he takes the top 3 spots easily. No, I miss Matt Probyn. I miss beating him up, really, for the most part. Mostly in wrestling because his striking is actually really, really good. He probably doesn't, he's like, yeah, I know. I always enjoyed training with Probyn because the kid's a stud. I really hope that he can turn the corner in the kickboxing realm because he's a pure kickboxer. He was trying to do MMA. But the ground game, coming in late like that with kickboxing, he should just be in K1 or Glory. I really hope he can make his way into Glory because the kid is probably one of the best pure strikers I've ever trained with. And the knowledge that he passed along to me, I learned so much in like 6 months from training with him. But yeah, he is very handsome too.
Yeah, well, he just said that he misses training with you, and said he looks forward to getting back on the mats and getting some work in with you. Tell me, Ryan, who have you been getting work in with now? Obviously, with the pandemic, things have been a little bit iffy as far as getting out and training per usual. But now that you've left Young's, tell me a little bit about the traveling that you're doing and who you're getting your work in with.
Honestly, since the pandemic started, I haven't done anything. I was doing sprints and hitting my bag down in my basement and stuff like that. But before that, I helped Bruce Boynton get ready for his last fight. And but before that, I took all of last year off for the most part. I would just hop in to Jared Lawton's gym like once a month to roll with him so I could get humbled. Jared Lawton, I say this a lot, but Jared Lawton is one of the best pure grapplers like this side of the Mississippi. And check him out. He's in Augusta and he's a killer. And so I was training with him like once a month, and I would pop in at where was it? Titan Athletics was the other one. I'd pop in like once a month to get some sparring in and stuff like that and get humbled over there as well. But I wasn't really training. I just, like I said, I got burnt out last year and I just needed some time away from the sport, mentally and physically. And then having my daughter really took up a lot of my time, which was great because, like I said, I just needed a break from everything. But when I get back to it, I'm going to be going back and training with Team Titan and going down to Jared's, and I'll probably be hopping in if they let me with Matt Probyn's group. And hopefully, I know Bruce Boynton and I have been talking, and we're hopefully going to get shit together and start training together here in the next few weeks as well. So that's the thing, man. Is in Maine, you got to hop around. Travel a lot. You got to put in a lot of driving and time just into getting to places. So that's the thing.
Now that you've taken some time off, Ryan, how rejuvenated do you feel? Like compared to before, did you feel just kind of like humdrum, like I'm going through the motions and maybe not, as excited as you could be because you're not maybe where you wanted to be before in your career? Do you feel like now maybe like you're rejuvenated more and you're really going to get after it?
Yeah, well, the thing is like I was going through the process, but yeah, it was just like, it was just a circle. Like I would fight and win and then get nowhere, but like the greatest thing is like not only physically did I get away from it, but mentally too. So my wife and I, we've been doing yoga like every day for like the last 3 months. So mentally, I feel like I'm in a good place, but physically, I was having a lot of trouble with my back and my neck, obviously from getting beat up and grappling and stuff like that. So my body honestly feels the best it's ever felt, and mentally I'm in a great place. And I just feel like this next time, that's why another reason why I want to take a step away is because I knew when I got back to it, this is going to be my final run. So I wanted to make sure that I had everything lined up physically, mentally, spiritually, everything. So when I make this final run, I can be like, you know what? At the end of the day, I did everything I could. I put all my eggs in that basket, and I saw it all the way through. That's one of the things I tell people. They're like, when are you going to get back? I go, I'm going to get back to it because I've invested too much of my time in my life not to see it all the way through. I'm still ranked in like the top 5 in New England, and haven't been around and stuff like that. But even though I haven't been in the spotlight, like I'm still training. I'm still getting better and stuff like that because it's I still drill the basics down in my basement and stuff like that. So like I said, when I come back, which will hopefully be once this pandemic starts to lift up and stuff like that, that I can make a run for it and really show not only like New England, but I want to be able to show everybody that I'm a killer. I feel like nowadays in this sport, you have a lot of talkers and self-promoters and stuff like that. But I still feel at the end of the day that I'm a fighter. I'm not just a guy who goes out there and talks his way into a fight or something like that. I go in there and I perform, and I'm a fighter. I feel like there's very few true fighters left in this sport. You get a lot of talkers and stuff like that. I feel like I'm a last of a dying breed. Like Justin Gaethje is like the one that really, he goes in there, he does a little bit of talking, but he throws down. He throws down every single time, and I feel like that's the case with me. Is I go in there and I fight my heart out. And I think it's why a lot of fans, like me and enjoy watching me is because I'm not in there to just take easy fights. It's like I go in there and fight, I put on a performance, I finish people, and I go on to the next one. And I feel like there's a lot of talkers in this sport that's maybe getting more recognition, not in just regionally, but also in the world of fighting because they can just talk.
Now you're 18-9, Ryan, which is a very respectable record. I mean, a lot of fighters would kill to have a record like that, right? But you still haven't got that shot at the UFC, which is what I know you desperately want. Now coming back, you've made it clear that making lightweight is going to be very, very difficult for you at this point in your career, and that's the one thing that I think the naysayers would say about you is you haven't been as successful at welterweight versus at lightweight. You've been a killer steamrolling people at lightweight. Now you're coming back. You're a little bit older. I believe you're 33 now, and you're going to be fighting at welterweight moving forward. For the people that support you and your fans out there, give them some reason to feel hopeful that you're going to be able to make that step at 170 and really cement yourself as a legitimate welterweight here and maybe make a run at that UFC.
If you watch my early fights at 170, it was a mindset. I was a mindset of letting the guys, if I got taken down, I played the jits game. I played off my back. If you look, almost all my losses were to wrestlers that took me down. So I fought wrestlers and I was trying to grapple them. You can't be doing that. In MMA, you have to have a mindset of either if you're on bottom, you're getting on top, you gotta get up. I never had that mental switch of, I have to get up. I was playing like, let's grapple, let's go for chokes and stuff like that. And I ended up losing a lot of decisions that way. So if you see like my evolution, you see that if I end up on the ground, I either try to get back up or I'm the guy that's taking the fight to the ground on my terms. Like my last fight with Jacob Bone, we ended up on the ground, but I ended up on top, and that's where I was able to do the damage that ended up stopping the fight. It was a mindset, and not only that, but I didn't have any wrestling. I didn't grow up wrestling, so I was behind the 8 ball when it came to wrestling early on in my career. And not only that, but there's a lack of knowledge too. I didn't have anyone showing me what I need to do. But there's a lot of studs out there that I have a chance to learn from and grow and whatnot. So I'm more of a complete fighter now than I was at the beginning of my career when I fought at 170. Now I'm a lot more well-rounded. I know how where to take the fights to win the fights. That's the other thing is I would go in there and kind of feel like, hey, let's see what happens, Now, if I'm going to go in and fight a striker, I'm not going to go in and bang with a striker because I know, like, why give him the opportunity? He has a higher percentage of winning a fight if I keep it standing. So I'd go in there, throw hands a little bit to get him, thinking about it. But ultimately, I would try to close the distance, get to fight at the ground, get in the clinch and stuff like that, and just Khabib the person. I'm a huge fan of Khabib, and I feel like I before I got done training, that's what I was working on, was just tying people up on the ground and just making them miserable, wrist ride them, and beat them up until they would either quit by giving me a submission or just be like, all right, let's stand up. You've got me, let's stand up. I'm a lot more complete fighter than I was early on in the career, and that's all I can say is that I've evolved. And like in this sport, like I've always said, evolve or die. So I evolved.
Now, even in your last fight, you've mentioned Jacob Bone a couple of times now. Have you seen what he's done since fighting you?
It's so funny you say that. Like, I kept tabs on him, and he's won 4 or 5, I think 4 of his last 5, and it's against high competition, So it goes to show you, like, he's going out there and beating up, other regional guys, and I absolutely demolished him. So it goes to show you that I feel like, they always have that comparison with fighters and stuff like that. Like, okay, this person went and lost to him, and then this person beat that guy. So without actually fighting, you can compare people. And the last guy he fought before he fought me ended up in the UFC because that guy, I can't remember his name, but he's
Joe Selecki.
Yes, and he's in the UFC now because he was on the. But it took him to a decision. He took that guy to a decision, and that's the thing is I feel like if I had fought that guy, I would have beat him because I destroyed Jacob Bone and whatnot. But Jacob Bone's on a tear now, like I said. So it goes to show you, like I was fighting some high caliber guys, even though they were under the radar. So it is what it is. But like you talk about that, fighting comparisons and stuff like that. I finished guys, and other people taking decisions.
Yeah, well, I wanted to mention that because after seeing what he's done since fighting you, it just goes to show that you're beating guys that are high level caliber fighters. Another gentleman that you fought before, and I had the pleasure of doing the commentary for that fight, was down at Ammo when you fought John Manley. And I told you this before, Ryan, but I'll say it again. It was one of the best high level shows as far as competition between you and John Manley that I've seen in person. That was a really great stylistic fight. I mean, the high level that you guys showed inside the cage was something to behold. I actually spoke with Christine Curtis just the other day, and she was saying to this day that was her favorite fight she's ever seen at Ammo. It was you and Manley, and I have spoke to Bill Vigil, and it seems like there is some intrigue to have that fight run back, maybe for a welterweight title shot later this year. Is that something that excites you?
Oh yeah, like I said, and I've told you this before. I would love to run that fight again because the John Manley, the fight that he I was with him, it just wasn't me. I didn't show up. That was like a 70% of myself, and I know if I gave 100%, there were some underlying issues. I had an infection the week before the fight, and I probably shouldn't even taken the fight. And I hate saying that because it's such a BS excuse, but Joe Rogan talked about antibiotics in your system and how it destroys you and takes your cardio away, and without even thinking about it. So I was on 2 dosages of antibiotics going into that fight because I had a infection in my foot, and I came out. I felt amazing in the first round. I think I was piecing them up, and then all of a sudden I hit a wall. In the second and third, I was kind of just I was coasting through it. I just couldn't hit that next wall and couldn't climb over it and stuff. So if we ran it back and did 5-5, I would eat him alive. And I don't care. John can say what he wants going into that fight. I just know that with an 8-week camp and I'm feeling healthy, I would eat John alive, and it wouldn't be pretty.
Now, a win over John Manley, who's a guy that's been fighting in Bellator and winning in Bellator, what would that do for you, Ryan? I mean, worst case scenario, you'd think it'd have to give you maybe a deal with Bellator, right?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, if it can open up one door, I just need one door open up. If I get into Bellator, I can show to them, because Bellator has a, cream of the crop too. The guys that have either made to the UFC or no longer there, or guys that are on the verge of getting the UFC. So they have a lot of high quality guys. So if I can go in and beat John Manley regionally and get offered a fight with Bellator, if I can just get one chance to get my foot in the door, I know I can kick that fucker open.
As far as other promotions right now, Ryan, do you even have your eyes on fighting? I mean, you've made a name for yourself in the NEF. If Matt Peterson came to you and was like, hey, we've got this fight for you at 170, would you entertain that? Or are you right now just looking for big fights and really trying to get in a promotion that you feel like you deserve to be in?
I'd love to fight. I just want to fight, man. Like I haven't fought in so long, and with everything that happened and whatnot. Ideally, I would like that Ammo fight because John Manley brings a lot of recognition. Like you said, he's a veteran of the scene, and it's all about name recognition right now. If I can come back and take a fight and have it be like a guy who's top 5, and I can show that even though I took some time away and I beat his ass, it goes to show like, okay, well, let's get this guy out of here. Like he's too good. That's the thing is like. The last few fights I was beating these guys up. They were flying guys in from New York, Florida, and I can't remember the other. Like these guys are being flown in, and I'm beating the piss out of them. And obviously at the time, not to bring up like old stories and stuff, but Nate Andrews, like the best guy and the pound for pound guy supposedly in New England, he didn't want to fight me, so they had to bring other guys in. And that's the thing is, I just need a good name, a fight that shows people like, damn, he still has it. Let's get him someone else. Let's get him something big. And I want a name that gets me hyped up too. You know, that brings out the best Ryan Sanders. You know.
I know you've never been shy about calling out anybody. Tell me, is there anyone else that comes to mind here regionally that you'd be like, you know what? If I don't get to fight John Manley, or if Nate Andrews isn't the guy, I want to fight this guy. Anyone that comes to mind?
No one that really pops out. Like I kind of been keeping a little bit of tabs on regionally. Like I watched Western Mass is always posting videos of, so I always keep an eye on lightweights and welterweights. I don't remember their names, but honestly, man, I watch these guys, and no offense to them, but there's a lot of holes in their games, you know. And the thing is in fighting, your coaches and the people around you are going to tell you how good you are. But, you know, you have to really humble yourself in this sport, because I was watching a fight. I can't remember the guy's names, like I said. But the guy won. He was like 6-2, so he's 7-2 now. He's a lightweight, and he won, but he had to fight out of like 2 or 3 submissions just to get the win. And if you're a stud, you should not have any trouble. In, you know, in New England, if you're a top, you know, top guy and stuff like that, you should be steamrolling these guys that are either under 500 or unranked. And that's what happens a lot nowadays. Is you're going to have a stud who's 7-2, and he's going to be fighting a guy like, that's what happened with me. But I steamrolled him. You know, I beat them all. Like I dislocated that guy's elbow in Portland. I ripped a hole in Jacob's face and stuff like that. Like, I know it sounds like an asshole thing to say and being disrespectful, but that's what people want to see. I'm not here to entertain just regionally. I want the world to know my name, really, at the end of the day, right? Like, that's what I'm here for, is we get in this sport to show everybody how good we are. And you want to talk about how good you are, so, you know, show it off to the world. I don't want to just be good in Maine or New England. Like, my mindset since day one has always been, I want to be a world-class athlete, a world-class fighter. So that's my mindset. And a lot of guys regionally, they have holes in their game. And if they end up fighting me, I can expose them, because I know I've been in the game long enough, and I know what my holes were. And ask anybody, like, my wrestling is come a long way. My striking is a lot crisper. So just be careful. Like, the young studs out there, you guys have holes in your game. Your coaches and managers might not tell you, but like, watch your fights closely afterwards. You know, humble yourself and work on that. Because if you fight me, I'll expose you and I'll show you what you really are. But that's the thing. That's the other thing, is a lot of people won't fight me because they know what I'll do to them, you know? So,
yeah, well, I've seen it here regionally. I know how talented of a fighter you are. Ryan, for anyone that's out there that's watching this right now, any promoters in particular that don't know you and maybe want to match you for a next fight, what's the one message that you'd send to them?
If you want a fighter who is there to fucking fight, who's there to just put on a show, like, that's me. Like, you're not gonna be bored watching me fight. You never have, never will. I just love to fight. I don't know why. I really feel like I was born to fight. So if you're looking for a guy that's gonna entertain your fans, and they're gonna be like eating, they want more. Like Ezekiel Elliott over here, they're just gonna feed me. You know, I'm gonna eat it up, man. I'm gonna eat it up.
Ryan, always a pleasure talking to you, my man. It's been way too long since I've seen you. So thankfully, we have the magic of Skype to connect us, right. And I can see your handsome face here. Anyone you want to thank, man, or any sponsors that you have? The floor is yours.
No sponsors right now. I just want to thank my wife for putting up with me during this quarantine, because even though I think I'm pretty funny, I think my jokes might get old on her. And also for Ella for putting up with her dad, who you know, can be a handful as well. So, but no, I like it. I'm very lucky. I have an amazing wife, a beautiful daughter, and you know, I can't complain, man. Life's good right now. Life is really good. Like, even though I'm not, you know, fighting and stuff like that, and I know everything that's going on in the world is pretty shitty, but like, everyone should just think about it. Like, you know, this is a shitty time, but just be thankful that you're able to spend more time. You know, you're at home for a reason. Spend time with your family, catch up with people, reach out to people. And if you guys are having trouble, mentally or anything, like emotionally, there's numbers out there. Give them a call. Like I said, like, I'm thriving in this situation because this is just I'm a homebody person. But if you guys are struggling or anything like that, like, even hit me up on Twitter. I'll shoot the shit with you for a bit. But just reach out to people. You know, don't be ashamed. You know.
Very nice message, Ryan, and 100% I concur with all of that. Again, brother, great catching up with you, and we need to do this again soon before you have your next fight.
Hell yeah, man. Sounds great, dude. It's good catching up with you, dude. Take it easy.